is a smuggler. Deadpool, an actual murderer. Why do we love heroes who commit crimes?
I like this kid.
It's because they're lovable rogues, folks who regularly break the law, and we love them anyway. Not in spite of their crimes, but because of them. This isn't just a movies thing. There are actual lovable rogues sprinkled throughout history. Like Harm Peary, Utah's thrice-elected cowboy mayor from the 1930s, who constantly got arrested over things like speeding or gambling violations at his bar. Or Half-Hung McNaughton. No, that doesn't mean what you think. In 1761, he was sentenced to death for accidentally killing his girlfriend during a kidnapping attempt. It sounds horrible, but the people loved him, saw him as this tragic romantic figure. When the hanging didn't kill him, the crowd said it was a sign from God and begged for his release. But instead, he was rehung. Those two were beloved by their communities during their lifetimes. But typically, the lovable roguing of real-life criminals comes decades or even centuries later. Before that comes the obsession. You might think crime shows like My Favorite Murder or the Investigation Discovery Channel are a new thing, but we've been into this shit for centuries. The 1700s brought about a craze called the criminal biography, which is seen as a precursor to the modern-day novel. These were collected stories of real criminals, thieves, murderers, cannibals, you name it. It was a super popular genre, especially among the middle class. They were stories about people like Madeline Smith, a socialite from the 1800s who was charged with murder for allegedly poisoning her lover, after he threatened to expose their affair so she'd be forced to marry him. She was acquitted, but historians think she totally did it. Even though criminal biographies were often embellished, people liked them because they were about real people. And at a time of heightened public anxiety around crime, people wanted to understand the real criminal mind. So sometimes they took the real people thing to another level. For example, writer Charles Johnson put the story of Robin Hood in one of his biographies, even though there's no proof he actually existed. Nowadays, we see Robin Hood as the quintessential lovable rogue, a sexy fox dude who robbed from the rich, gave to the poor, thanks to folklore and Disney movies. But back then, they didn't like him so much. He was seen as a ne'er-do-well. Johnson even told readers to pray for his soul. So criminal biographies served two purposes: entertainment and moral judgment. At the time, people believed crimes were also sins. They didn't think people who broke the law were bad, but they needed to atone for their misdeeds, and they loved when criminals were caught. A great example is the Great Gold Robbery of 1855, one of the most famous train heists in the 19th century. A bunch of gold bars were stored on a train from London to Paris, and they completely vanished. The investigation lasted months, and eventually 3 men were caught, including one, William Pierce. At the time, justice had been served, the masses sated. But a century later, their story changed. Michael Crichton released his book, The Great Train Robbery, which later became a movie starring Sean Connery as, you guessed it, William Pierce.
The greatest scoundrel hero who ever lived.
And remember Madeline Smith from earlier? Her story got a movie too, starring Joan Crawford. Only in that one, she was never arrested. No one found out she did it. So why change the story? Why turn punishments into victories, rewriting actual history? Because once enough time has gone by, folks like Guy Fawkes, Bonnie and Clyde, or the guys that threw tea into the Boston Harbor, they're no longer people, they're stories. We become more empathetic to lawbreakers the more fictional they become, whether it's through the passage of time, romanticizing their acts, or having them be actual fictional characters like Han Solo or Deadpool. It lets us see their actions as ideas instead of part of their crimes. True, there are other factors involved. Criminal justice is complicated and has changed over the years. Plus, our own bias comes into play. But there is a reason why, just earlier this year, a guy called himself a lovable rogue as his actual criminal defense. Smuggle some stuff off a train, you're breaking the law. But do it with a smirk on your face and a Wookiee by your side, suddenly, you're the hero.